It looks like we now have a full house with our commissioners present. We have Gary Thompson, Jim Collins, Ryan Toole, Kyle Schlachter, Craig O'Rourke, and LaDonna Jurgensen. Jim Reese is our executive director, and filling in for Corey Hoffman tonight is Catherine Sellers for our legal rep. Last meeting was in November and it was canceled, so here we are again. Thanks for coming, guys. So our last actual physical meeting was October 8th. So next item on the agenda is to review and approve the minutes for both August 13th meeting as well as October 8th. So if I have a motion on the review of the video minutes.
So they exist.
They exist, yes, they do. They have been posted to the website as always.
I move they be approved, accepted.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any objection to the motion? Okay, motion passes. Moving on to announcements. Do we have any announcements tonight?
No, I've got a couple things under my report I'll go over, but no big announcements.
Okay. Okay.
Do we have a city council liaison? Is that?
That was one of the announcements, but that's, but we can go over that. From what I understand from Wendy, the city clerk, they're going to hopefully do that on the 15th of December, appoint someone.
Okay.
I don't know if they talked about it this week or not. She thought they might.
And do they just vote to appoint whoever steps forward? Or
Well,
how's that process?
the process by statute is the mayor appoints someone, and then council confirms.
Have they done interviews? Sorry. Have they done interviews?
It's just the council members. It's
No,
voted.
Oh, a liaison.
A liaison.
Oh, okay.
Already a
Okay,
current
I
member.
understand. Okay, I thought
But the
you were talking about our new.
appointment is the same, but typically, you guys went through interview process. right?
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to interview themselves for liaison position.
They wouldn't do, they would just probably discuss it and say, you're it.
Okay. Anything else, guys? No? Okay. Next is public appearances, and we will have an opportunity if anybody from the public here tonight wants to talk about budget at a public hearing later in the meeting tonight. But if you have anything else, now is your time. Please step to the podium. And it looks like we don't have any public appearances, so we'll keep going. Financial report. So again, we'll have both financial reports and check register statements for October and November. Jim, do you have, do you want to run through those in detail, or if anybody has any comments or questions out of the packet there?
You know, there's really nothing out of the ordinary. Just that it's a little bit more complicated because the city, and we talked about this last time, I don't know if everybody remembers this, but they're doing their balance sheet and their budget sheet different than the way I do it, although it's still fine. I mean, it still shows you what your balances are and how much money you spent each year. What they haven't done, and we asked this at the last meeting, I believe, is that they would do like a reconciliation of the checks, because they don't list all the, like I've always done that. So this time I did it again, and listed all the checks we've written. Now, granted, the number of checks has decreased substantially since last time, but the one that I would tell you is we did make the final payment to CIG.
Okay,
So they are done now.
so that November 24th check.
It'll be on the November check. I thought it was going to be last time, but I didn't realize that they had done so much, what do you want to call it? Information download to the city, and that took a while.
Okay. But that is officially the last check, and we're closed out
so we're-
contractually with CIG. Okay,
The other two checks are legal services and myself.
okay.
So your balance, of course, for the, right now. Your balance is 49,700.
I was,
Pretty well to
I
what?
was wondering why, on 5C, the November 30th income statement shows that we have 2 draws in the year-to-date actual, but our balance sheet only shows 50,000 as a liability. Then the next page is our
You know,
balance
I
sheet.
caught that too, and I was going to bring that to her attention because it just doesn't seem right. Our liability is bigger than 50,000.
Yeah.
$49,000. You know, I don't know what they're actually showing.
Yeah, it was in the
Oh,
October
also,
one as well.
this doesn't make sense. There's a fund balance of a negative $274 on the balance sheet. So
That's simply not true.
the balance sheet is incorrect.
Yeah. And I apologize because I just got these like yesterday. So. We will find out.
Is it somebody from their accounting department that's doing this for us, Jim? Is it someone from the city's accounting department?
Yeah, Tiffany Hooten?
I don't know. any of the
It's
people.
Tiffany.
Yeah. And we had her here that one night. Well, actually, it was the night we canceled the meeting, so we really didn't get a chance to ask her any questions about it.
Hooten,
But we could,
Tiffany Hooten.
yeah. And we may need to have her come back and walk through this, because I saw that too. I was like, why are we showing a fund balance of a negative 274? It didn't make any sense.
Well, I think it's just incorrect.
Something, the way she's entering the ledger, I don't know. We will find out.
Okay.
Real fund balance, $49,726.
Okay. So it sounds like we need to make some,
From the sheet that I did, yeah.
so as far as approving this,
Well,
Well, it
can I-
ends, if you look at total liabilities and fund balance, it comes out to that same amount. So I wonder if it's just,
Well, and then the next one, although it's the budget one, that shows as in November 30th that we have a $33,000, I guess, netting, anyway.
the available budget, is that the one you're looking at?
I'll under the available,
No, the next-
33,639.
Yeah,
And then down below, it says 26,360. I don't know what that represents.
well,
It's the difference between 59,450, I guess, and 33,809, but why that matters?
well, what I'm really focusing on is the net surplus or deficit. There is 33,000. Oh, I get it. The difference is, that one doesn't add in the beginning fund balance of 16. Okay, that one's okay.
It's a difference between the budgeted amount and what we've actually spent, but kind of a meaningless number.
That one's okay. So it's just really the balance sheet that's not correct.
Okay. Well, do we want to, I mean, it's the
I
balance
don't know
sheet,
if it's
which is part of the
necessarily-
financial, but I think we need to maybe we need to have Tiffany again kind of come in and,
Yeah.
or maybe we can just have a sidebar conversation, Jim, to refine what this is and why.
Fund balance is correct in her balance.
yeah, I mean, it's correct at the very bottom. I think she's just breaking out differently.
The 274, but we have fund balance, total fund balance. They don't seem to make any sense.
Okay, we just need clarification on
Yeah.
those items.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion to approve the disbursements and to withhold acceptance of the financials until the corrections are made.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Okay. Any discussion?
Find out what's going on there.
Any objection to the motion? Okay, so this is a motion to approve both financial and check register statements for both October and November with the clarification on the balance sheets. And motion passes. Okay? Let's move on to committee reports. First is Jim.
I just have two quick ones. I circled back with the two potential developers that we are working with, since it's getting to be the end of the year, and they haven't come forward with anything so far. And they both still intend to bring projects forward next year. The Columbine one, which is Redwood Development, Villages at Bellevue, or Village at Bellevue, if you remember that one, it was all apartments, basically. I think they are rethinking that. Seems that they may be looking at putting in some commercial. I don't think the whole thing's going to go commercial. I think they're looking at potential commercial on the corner, which makes a lot of sense. I think they're going to redo that entire plan. That's kind of good news. Also. Probably generate some tax increment if it's commercial. The other one is the Enzer property, and that's the developer out of Dallas, and their name is Endeavor. And they intend to bring forth the development plans in 2016. Their timing, not quite sure what that is yet. Part of it, they're kind of waiting, I think, to see how things shake out with the city and Lyft with our lawsuit with Arapahoe County. That is scheduled for court, I believe, on the 22nd. Can you check that? Do you know that? Yeah, I think it's the 22nd
December,
of January.
January.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that or discussion items? Okay. Well, on to attorney's report. Catherine, do you have anything from your group? Okay, that's okay.
Great.
All right, well, then that moves us into unfinished business, which we will open the public hearing for the 2016 LIFT budget tonight. So if anybody here from the public would like to step to the podium and discuss any items related to the budget, now is your time to do that.
Do you have a copy? There was nothing on the website.
Yeah, we do. Is that a full one there?
No,
No, that, I think you have.
Yeah, this, here, I have a couple copies here. So, So is there anybody here tonight that would like to step to the podium? Okay. Well, then that closes our public hearing and portion of the budget discussion tonight. And we'll open internally here to the board to walk through the budget and discuss any items. Now, first, before we get started, is this under a resolution approval, or is this just a straight approval of the budget? Is there any documentation that's going to house this budget, or is it straight just, hey, here's how have we handled that in the past? And
You could pass it as a resolution. We don't have one, I don't think Cory wrote one. So
okay. I was just curious what vehicle.
it definitely takes a formal vote.
Right. I just wanted to make sure if there's a vehicle, if it's just basically our budget, the spreadsheet, that's what it is. Okay,
You discuss it, pass it, or amend it.
great.
You want to walk through it?
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so if you look at this page, it's item 7A, the budget 2016. So I'm anticipating the cash balance at the end of the year will be about 47,000. We have 49,000 right now. So with a couple more checks coming in, that's probably where we'll end up. Retainer agreements refers to fees that we would charge developers for the cover really the cost of putting together development agreements. And so that covers a lot of like Cory's time for the legal work that's involved with writing those agreements, and my time for actually putting them together as well and negotiating them. So we had an allowance in there, I believe last year, of the same amount, so it carried it forward. So then underneath there, you see a whole bunch of different numbers, and they look really odd. Property tax, Santa Fe, 6919, Littleton Boulevard, 2. These are coming from the spreadsheets behind there that basically show fees from the property tax increment that we are actually going to accrue next year. So all of these, with the exception of Columbine, are actually generating increment. There's been construction, there's been development in the areas that's raised the property value and therefore, raised the property tax. So these numbers came straight from the county assessor's office. Now, if you look, let's look, for example, if you look at the first sheet there on the next page, Littleton Boulevard. You can see the number that the county is in under the annual budget of $12,938. That's the amount of increment that the county is basically saying we will receive. But down below, you'll see I did a table basically to refund a lot of that money, because if you remember, a couple months back, we passed a resolution to refund money back to Littleton Public Schools, the city of Littleton, South Suburban and Urban Drainage, until a LIFT, I should call it a LIFT-approved project, comes on. So what you see there, based on the percentage of what their mill levy is against what the actual amount of money is, would be the refunds going back to all those entities. So that leaves us with $2,444.23, which we can apply to them.
So maybe you can explain to me, I expected then, so collect the $12,938, we pay an administrative fee to the county on that. That's what I'm assuming this 2444 is? No. What's the administration fee?
That's what we would normally charge a developer.
Okay, so on Littleton Boulevard, where we don't have a developer, on the schedule, okay. We've
So we
got
don't have anything, so that's all the revenue we will have out of that project.
Okay, so we have 12,938 of tax increment.
Total increment.
Okay.
Property.
Then on the expense side, we show administration fees of 2,444. What is that?
That's basically what's left over after we have refunded everything else. We get to keep that much. That's it.
Well, why is that an expense? Wouldn't it be the net of, we have 12,938 of income, and then we have 10,493 of
Revenue.
expense, and we have excess of revenue over expense of 24.
Oh, okay.
The way I thought that if that was an administrative fee, I thought, is the county charging us a fee on it? No?
No, these are all potential fees, so I listed our administrative fees, and we could do it exactly the way you're saying, it's fine. But these are typical costs that we get charged back, like the treasurers often will charge a fee for their time processing this, reimbursements to anybody else, other capital expenditures, so, and then there's usually a sales tax collection fee.
Well,
So those-
is this an expense?
What?
I mean, we have it as an expense. Is this money going out as an expense, the 2,444?
It's an
going-
expense from
Yeah,
this
that's what-
pot of money.
So this
Yes.
is like look at this as a separate fund, like a TIF
Okay.
fund. And so what I'm doing is drawing that administrative fee out of this fund and putting it into our general fund. It's all, I mean, obviously it's paper.
And when you look at the,
Okay,
if you
so
look
we're
at the
just-
operating budget on 7A, LaDonna, that
So you're
Littleton
just
Boulevard
showing
TIF
the
is
net
revenue.
amount
So that
as
shows up as revenue
income.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all the parentheticals here are going out of the special savings account.
Special fund.
Okay.
Most of it goes back to the taxing entities, and that 2,400 goes to our general fund.
And frankly, what that number is really is, if you notice on there, there is no agreement between us and Arapahoe County. So that's about the amount of money that Arapahoe County's percentage of the millage.
So North Broadway, the numbers there are very large. Property tax increment of almost 2.9 million,
Huge.
which reflects the
King Super.
supers.
This
It's
is
King
what we
Super.
collected. This is what we're going to reverse
So that was all by the county assessor, all attributed to increment.
I didn't
Over the
catch it
base.
myself until just now.
Never seen a budget.
I mean, that, okay, I mean, that's fine, but that's an amazing amount of property tax increment.
It is.
So King Soopers pays $2.9 million.
Oh, it's the whole shopping center, not just the King Soopers itself.
All right, it's the whole shopping
And
center.
anything else in that area too, there's a lot more than just King Soopers in the area.
But that is the bulk of it.
Well, that's the bulk of it, but, yeah.
But, yeah, so,
Wow, I had no idea.
Cities like grocers and other retailers. It's exactly what we're doing.
So then explain with your theory to me on this one, on North Broadway. We're ending this North Broadway sheet with income of 483,000. Now, is there a different purpose to that?
that 483, 244, is that what you're, that will remain in that balance of that account, because we're not drawing it down, because, we had set, and you can, and this is, can change, but we have set our administrative fees at the most at 60,000, so that's all the more I took out.
The 480,000 isn't ours, it's in this fund.
It'll stay in there. I mean, it is ours.
Right.
It's not part of our, it didn't make it part of our budget. What it can be used for is if we do a project or something
in
like
that.
that, then you can use it. The law is a little tricky because we can't take funds from one urban renewal area and apply them somewhere else.
At the end of the year, if that $483,000 is still in that fund, does that end up on our balance sheet as an asset?
A rollover.
But it would be shown on Lyft's balance sheet.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the money does physically come to Lyft.
So even though we have no projects or no administrative costs specific to these districts, well, I guess maybe you could say your time is, to some extent, is specific to those districts.
There's nothing in the statute that says you can't take fees from your TIF money to support your operation. So with that said, I mean, if we do this, and again, this is your call, you certainly don't have to take the funds out, you could leave it sitting in there. You would end up, if we do the two projects that we're anticipating, then we would end up with about almost $250,000 in revenue. However, remember, of course, if you drop down under the expenditures, we owe the city 150 plus interest for the draws that we've had 3 draws on that loan. So, I'm recommending at this point that we repay at least part of it with that 100,000.
Can you clarify the 60,000 on Columbine? That's a fee? Is that our fee? That's not associated with property?
We would charge the developer. There is no TIF on Columbine at all to offset that.
And was that based on our earlier filters that we're putting in place for, is it just a WAG number right now, the 60K on their deal? How did that?
Yes, we kind of put that number together last year in the budget.
Yeah.
And, we don't want to make it obviously too high because we're not in the business of trying to, build up our bank account. But on the other hand, just enough to kind of keep this organization alive. Yeah.
Help me understand, Jim, if we're anticipating in the budget development fees from 2 projects, why are we only anticipating a retainer agreement that relates to 1 project? I think in the 2015 budget, we had $40,000 in retainer fees because there would have been 2 projects had things proceeded as we thought.
Okay, so there actually are 2. If you look at, we're looking at 60,000 from Columbine as a fee, right? Village of Bellevue. And then the line above it is really, the difference is actually, if you add 53,081, the fee, to this up above where it says Santa Fe TIF, 6919, that gets us there. That gets us to 60 grand. So what I normally do, and again, this is you know, you can do this anywhere, but if we get TIF revenue in on a project, usually what I've done in other places is you keep the TIF revenue as part of your fee and then reduce the amount that the developer has to pay in.
Okay.
Totally don't have to do that.
I understand, but I think that's a different topic. When I look at the 2015 budget, there's $40,000 in retainer fees and $120,000 in administrative fees. So basically,
You're
we
saying the
had,
retainer fee should be higher?
well, I'm asking,
Good.
I'm
Can we
asking why,
reduce them?
because the retainer fees and the administrative fees are on a per-project basis. So we're charging administrative fees for 2 projects, but we're charging a retainer fee for only 1 project in the budget.
Or I guess, the way I was looking at that is that maybe that was a little too high and I was going to do 10 each.
Okay, so then that answers the question. So you've effectively
Reduced it.
reduced the per-project
Yeah.
retainer fee.
Certainly don't have to. I mean, you know, if you,
Well, have either of the prospective developers been advised that there will be a retainer fee and at a certain level, a certain amount, $20,000? Have they been told that?
we haven't even reached that level yet. I mean, they have, I think that's in our application.
Yeah, it is.
Know that the
We can-
fee will be charged. But
And has the board decided in the past that $20,000 is the?
We have not finalized that. We've had the discussion, and that's certainly something we need to build into our 2016 and understand.
yeah, I've worked in, like I said, in other places, is that require the developer to give us the money up front. It goes into like an escrow account, and then we draw out of that escrow account to pay legal fees and my time, and that kind of thing. And if that number gets down too low, then we inform them that we need additional funds to keep the project going. That's one way to do it. If not, you can certainly, you know, ask them for more money up front, and then if the project is done, we have the agreement in place and there's money left, you refund it back.
Yeah.
You can do it either way.
Okay, so-
Ryan, I just, real quick, I think that that's a really good discussion item because it's either, you know, I think we have a baseline number, but I think all project is going to have differences. You know, I think there's the budgetary number that we can have in there, but every project, as we discussed, around this fee is going to be, you know, the retainer is going to adapt to the magnitude of the project, obviously, but I think budgetary, from a budgetary standpoint, I guess you're basing it on that particular project to come up with that amount in this budget. I mean,
Classically, I've seen it less than 20, so I dropped it to 10, but,
right.
you know, we certainly don't have to.
Well, and the retainer agreement provides that the developer will replenish the retainer account.
Yeah, that's the way you write it, you're right.
So it's an estimate, and we will not be limited if the costs of reviewing the project get to be much more, the developer will pay for that.
Like a condition in the agreement that says that?
Understand. So no, it seems fine to me. I was just curious because it's a change from the
Correct.
calculation in the 2015 budget.
What do you, I mean, you keep it the same? Do you want to change
What do you guys?
I'm fine with
10 apiece?
$10,000.
I agree.
We'll start there.
From a budget standpoint, I
Yeah,
think it's
as long as
fine.
we have that line in the agreement that says, you know, we are entitled to additional funds if we need to. You know, we show them, keep a good accounting of it, of course, yeah.
Right. I'm comfortable with it.
So that's, so the rest of the expenditures are kind of based on what we did this year, for the most part. We, as you look at the current status of our budget, we had fairly higher legal fees this year, which we won't have next year. That was related to the arbitration that we had to do with Arapahoe County, so we won't have those next year. And the legal fees for the suit with Arapahoe County now over the ag land, that is being paid for by the city of Little.
Real quick on the city loan repayment. So the interest is built into that amount?
I don't know what that is right now. I mean, it's still accruing.
That's just a round number, that's not a principal, specific principal number. And what's your thought about timing of that payment?
We can't make it until, we start
have the
seeing
money.
money coming in, can't we?
Right.
So, yeah, so the cash flow becomes an issue into next year, doesn't it? Typically, property taxes are paid in either April, May, or sometimes even, July. So that's when we'll see the funds, in, but we're not going to see it at the beginning.
Well, and revenues are project dependent to a significant degree as well, so.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the ones that were shown on these, the sheets, like the large number we talked about for broad. Money will come in, but it won't come in until the King Supers and that development pays their taxes.
So again, back onto the North Broadway, the King Supers, we'll just call it that one, because that, I guess, is North Broadway at this point. That 483 that's in the, just hanging out over there is going to be what? I mean, so can you just describe that? I mean, just back to, so it's not determined what is to happen with that amount. Is that where?
It's undetermined, it'll sit in the account, and you basically will make a decision on how you want to spend
Okay.
it, project specific. At least that'd be my direction.
And concerning the numbers here on North Broadway, I mean, I asked a question a minute ago, and I think these numbers are all off by a factor of 10 or something too. I mean,
These are numbers.
but wait, stop for just a moment. Like, okay, the tax increment for North Broadway, which basically means the King Super Shopping Center. So this means that their property taxes that they will be paying are rising by $2.9 million over what they were before per year. That's, I mean, the entire cost of the project, that's sort of on the order of magnitude of what the entire construction project was.
I
Sure.
could go back and I could share with you, because they gave me market value number, and that's what this is based on. The market value is like 50 million or something of that nature.
29%.
Yeah, and again, Jim sat down with the county
Yeah.
assessors
I was
and
surprised
walked through this.
The county walked me through it.
So
Gotta be a
so
mistake.
the assessed value increase is somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 million. And if you have,
I have to walk it backwards.
we've got to be, the only taxes that we're not reimbursing here are county and maybe RTD or something such as that. That would amount to about, say, 10 mills. 10 mills on $15 million assessed valuation would be 1/100th.
Yeah, 1% of 15 million is 150,000.
Exactly.
1.5,
No?
No,
150,000.
150,000.
So
this can't be right.
it doesn't seem right.
Well, but you're just looking at that shopping center. Our urban renewal area is larger than that.
But there hasn't been,
It does look like if 2,882,000 is the increment for the entire district. Mill is 800 or 89.7 mills, and it's 29% of market value.
That in
This, if
5
you
years.
back into this, this would be $110 million in increased value in the district to drive that number.
can't be true.
Doesn't seem
They-
reasonable.
Yeah,
If it
that
was
seems-
Cherry
Okay,
Creek,
what
I might think
about-
so, but, North
What about the other side of Broadway, the north side of Broadway? There's been development there, and I don't remember
Well,
where,
car dealerships and
I don't remember
There's
what's
a-
included and what's
The
not.
car dealerships are
Chipotle.
mostly, but those are mostly not inside the.
Yeah, no, Chipotle, and then, there's a Savers, I'm just trying to think of the retailers. It would be kind of interesting to start understanding this from a property by property, break this out a little bit more and say, okay, well,
I can.
90% is in the King Supers shopping center, and here's the defragmented amount in our URA.
Yeah, I can bring that the next time. Yeah, I have the breakdown sheet from the county. I don't have it with me tonight.
notwithstanding the $483,000 set aside, it still drives a pretty significant revenue number, $60,000 for our budget. And if there's a question about
You
this.
see, I think it's a factor of 10, so that number probably is perhaps more like 6,000 instead of 60.
I don't. I think it's a factor of 2.
Well, anyway, but whatever it is, there's a
It's off.
substantial.
Seems off.
Well, at least if what we're saying we add to our revenue is 60,000, you're saying it's 10, we'd still have sufficient to cover
Yes.
it. Now, you're thinking it's a 2.
Well, I think, first off, it simply needs to be checked. So Jim, you need to check that the property tax increment is really $2.8 million. If the increase in value is $50 million, it really should be about 1.5. But
I will, what I'll do is, they only sent me hard copies, but I will scan those and I'll send them all out to you so you guys all can see it. We can discuss it next time.
But it really
Well,
didn't,
we have to approve a budget though
Yeah.
in
You can
December.
always amend the budget, you know.
Well,
yeah, we're not gonna spend the $483,000, because it needs to be spent on the project area, and we don't have a project
Unless we have a project.
in the project area, so
I mean,
Correct.
if
really
things
doesn't
are
matter.
good, that actually is a pretty good thing for us to have, to be able to look at a project.
Yeah, but I don't want it to be, we double check the
We will
figures.
get that.
That's,
Okay.
Okay, so that's one item of clarification on the property tax revenue for North Broadway that we need to add in there. So we can amend upon any clarification after your research, right, Jim?
Right. and so
But as
that-
far as everything else moving forward here,
Yeah, that would affect that North Broadway TIF revenue, if you so chose. I mean, it depends on what the scale of, if it is off. It may still be okay.
right,
I think it will be, actually, but.
you were kind of going through those expenditures, were there anything, other highlights that you wanted to bring up in that?
This is, like I said before, these are pretty much based on what we've done historically this last year. You know, the 24,000 for contract services, my time, averaging, right now is averaging less than 2,000 a month. 350 for, this would be membership in Downtown Colorado Inc. I think we had it in the budget this year, and I don't think, actually, we ever did it.
Huh.
Didn't feel right to join that when we were drawing money down from the city, so I didn't do it. Again, legal services is kind of what Corey's numbers have been running as far as general services. If you back out some of the other special things that he had to do, they really weren't that high, 12,000 or so. I left the 15,000 in for legal services for capital projects. That's a wag, to develop the cooperation agreements and development agreements. I didn't have anything in here before for city administrative services. I think the board actually put something in there, so I put 1,000.
Yeah, we brought that up in October, I think it was.
Actually, recently, they haven't even been charging us for the copy work, so that's good news. So that's about it, really.
And then we don't, just maybe back on that city loan, if we could understand that interest component, whether or not it's all in there, I mean, because this mentions 150 principal plus interest outstanding.
Yeah.
Be good just to know all the parameters of what that is on
I can find out what it is.
on our big number that we have out there that
Yeah,
we
we can
owe.
find out what it is today.
I'm comfortable with the budget since it doesn't understate our estimated revenue and expenses. And that would be the main concern with adopting it. Overstating it doesn't require a budget amendment, so I'm prepared to approve it.
Is that a motion?
That would be a motion.
That's your
to
motion?
approve, yes.
Okay.
Second.
So Donna, you seconded? Is there any more discussion?
I think the approval then would be subject to review of the North Broadway contribution and amendment in January pending confirmation of.
But in January.
No, you need to
Layer it in.
have it done by the end of the year,
We need a budget.
right?
Right, so then
So-
I'm suggesting the
yeah.
approval of the budget happens, but it is subject to potential amendment.
Well, we can just
But-
amend it then,
It's always-
we don't need to
It's
have.
always, I mean, it's always subject to.
You can always amend the
I'm sure you
budget.
want to put that in your.
Actually,
Yeah,
we don't have to amend it. We can change it, as long as we don't increase the expenditures, we don't have to amend it. We can simply acknowledge that that aspect of it was wrong, and
Just a clarification, and we can revisit
we have
that.
to go through an amendment process.
Okay.
Some other amendment somewhere in the line next
With-
year.
Jim, you're saying with a hearing,
As long as you budget too much, it's okay.
it's fine.
It's budgeting not enough that is your reason for doing an amendment,
I see.
which requires publication and a public hearing and all that crap.
Okay. So if the numbers are too big, then we're on
Not a problem.
the good side.
We want to understand that they're too big and have our documents reflect that. But
Okay.
If we could
It's
just
not-
pass the motion as made, then we can come back in January if we have to.
Okay. That's fine. So we do have a motion and a second, and in January, we'll revisit any other components here on the clarification that we talked about. Okay, I have a motion and a second to adopt and approve the stated 2016 lift budget. All those for, please raise your hands and say aye. Aye. Okay, the motion passes unanimously. All right, guys, new business. I think we talked about trying to get some sort of a workshop or work session either tapped onto one of our, at the end of one of our board meetings, or, you know, to discuss our 2016 goals. I think there's things we always try to bring up. There's the application stuff that we've talked about on and off, potential developments and goals for the new year. So I thought it might be good. We've had this, you know, discussion on and off to get an actual date or to attach it to our maybe next agenda in January, perhaps. I kind of like the idea of doing, you know, attaching it to a meeting because we're all here and I think we're all very busy and we're all doing things as well in life. So it might be best fit to do something towards the end, like a work session at the close of our meeting, if you guys are,
I agree with that.
okay? Does anybody else have any thoughts on that? So we can kind of just have some goal discussions outside of our formal meeting? Are you guys fine with that? Okay, so maybe on our January agenda, you guys will see that pop up, and we'll spend a few minutes after our meeting just talking about the year, and I wish we could go do it at a bar and hang out there, but I guess we need to do it here, so.
As long as we keep minutes.
There you go. Well, we'll see how we're feeling between here and there, but, okay. Is there any other new business that,
Did everyone have a chance to look at that draft press release?
Yeah.
Something we brought up
so,
Related to that,
related to that, something kind of more of a public relations, kind of a open for business note that let people, developers know that, hey, we're here. If they want to come talk to us, let us, give us a
I
call.
like it. Yeah.
Do you guys have any, I took the liberty and made some quotes up for you guys, for Jim and
Better than I can
Justin
say.
there, so.
yeah, I saw that on the closing, there. We'll have to have a little conversation about it.
So if anyone wants to make any,
Smart, man, to be able to say, you know,
Yeah, I
very
didn't know
intellectual.
Justin was that good. We didn't-
so yeah, please make any.
Thanks for making me look so good.
Do I write
appreciate
speeches?
it.
No,
It's
no.
really nice. Is this gonna go out, so will this be pushed
What
out?
do you want to do with this? I mean, do you
Yeah,
want to
where are
Did
we
you
going?
send it to everyone yet?
here?
Yeah, yeah, right, that's what I meant here. If anyone wants to make edits or revisions, changes to add anything, I just figured this was,
I think it's I think it's very good. And it
Yeah.
would and in answer to your question, I presume that it would simply be provided to the press, several,
Yeah.
through the.
We could
city's
talk to the
press.
city to see how they do press releases.
Right.
You know, press releases, usually you contract with a wire firm. It's
My-
$200
my
to send it out there and it goes out.
My one quick thought would be in that first paragraph, as you're kind of, pushing an RFP statement out. That might, I mean, I like that, but I think that it does sound like we actually have a prepared formal RFP package or some sort of system behind that. And I don't know if we want to be so specific to that unless we are actually going to say, hey, we have a formal RFP put together. That's how I read it, just from my experience and statement. So we might want to amend that. I haven't had a chance yet, Kyle. I might just put
Yeah,
a couple of
perfect.
quick edits to that effect, but overall, I
Or we
think
could
it's
just
great.
change it requesting applicants. We have,
Yeah,
we have an
exactly. Just
application.
kind of,
Well, an RFP kind of indicates we had identified an area that we
Exactly.
want to do something with.
right.
And are requesting.
Well, we sort of have. We have these 4 areas and we
Well-
want, yeah.
Right, but in the end, I'd say in the real estate industry, it's very specific to a defined package, and as LaDonna mentioned, a very defined project.
Yeah.
Boundaries, lots, those things. So I think just some of the terminology adjustment in here would be great, but I think this is perfect, and I think it's gonna be something great to push out
The
Yeah.
con-
to the public.
And to follow that up, to the concept being open to rather than requesting.
Okay, yeah, open to, yeah.
There you go.
and-
I like that.
Open to applicants.
So Kyle, you wrote this? Very,
Most of it I
Somewhere.
borrowed language from our website, so most of it's just
And
a sentence here and there.
Plagiarized.
plagiarized.
I like the word
you
borrowed.
just consolidate,
It's not
you
plagiarism.
just consolidate
It
it
is
into
hard.
one
It
document.
is our website.
It is hard. You're not plagiarizing.
Plagiarism.
So-
Better bump our legal up a little bit.
So the only other comment I would have is on the second page, at the end of the second paragraph, we have quoted there, well, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be a quote, but it says, developers should not be misinformed about the outcome of ballot question 300, added Reese.
I didn't say that.
No, he didn't say, like I said, I took the liberty to. It says
Here, I read it.
Well, one of the things when we
I'm
talked,
wondering if there's a little bit different way to put that. I
Yeah.
think Lyft is ready and willing to invest in Littleton is great, but I don't know.
I think one of the things we talked about at the last, whatever meeting it was that 300 really does not affect the current plans as they are. And I
maybe
think there's
that's
a,
what we should say,
Right.
rather than saying you're misinformed. We're
oh
kind
yeah,
of, kind of indicating somebody's misrepresenting things if we say you're misinformed. And I'm not sure that that's totally inaccurate, but maybe we can say something more to the
Or something
You
more
know, that-
positive.
ballot
probably
question
expound on
that.
the
Yeah, so we
results
can-
of ballot question 300 do not affect the existing urban renewal areas or.
go ahead,
just
take a
something-
crack at some revisions and send some options over of what we can put in
Okay.
there. Then we can all kind of
Well,
have a,
and my other question would be, do we need to have anybody else review this? I mean, should Corey review it or anybody else review it before we really,
I agree, just to make sure our terminology links up to everything we've been doing the past few years here.
yeah.
Why don't we, how about goal to push it out? Are we talking maybe the first, turn of the year, maybe after our next board meeting?
Well, we're going to
it's-
have this workshop in January.
Yeah.
You could
So
get
this
decide
would be-
the timing of this.
Try to finalize it then.
Let's do that, and then we can run it through our filters and Corey, and everybody could have their edits by then, and
Yeah, if everyone takes
be
a look at it.
kind of mid to late January push out after we've had another meeting, and
Mark it up as good as you want.
Okay.
Make Justin say whatever you want in there and.
I'm already thinking here, these are big
Make it
words.
sound
I
like
just-
he really is.
dumb it down.
So our next meeting is the 14th.
Dumb it down.
Well, I have to disagree with LaDonna. I like developers should not be misinformed. I thought that was, I like that, but whatever. We'll let the committee draft this. And maybe by March we'll get it out.
I like it. Okay, guys, moving right along. Anything else in our other category?
I don't have anything else.
Okay, well then we will adjourn. Our next meeting's January 14th, so have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, if I don't see you. Okay?
You too.